A car transporting a cargo load is moving along the road when the dashcam suddenly picks up a group of workers ahead, waving frantically for the driver to slow down. But by the time he reacts and slams the brakes, it's already too late. The vehicle plows into one of the workers and crashes into their work truck. The impact shakes the entire load, and a car strapped on top of the truck comes loose. It drops straight onto the fallen worker, turning a simple slowdown warning into a devastating chain reaction. Moments like this prove exactly why road work zones need clear signals, safe distances, and drivers fully alert, because one late brake can trigger a disaster. A factory worker is repairing a large transformer-style unit, welding close to a structure loaded with heat, pressure, and risk. But something goes wrong in an instant. A hidden fault or trapped vapors ignite, triggering a massive fire and a violent explosion. The blast engulfs the worker, leaving no chance of survival. Incidents like this show just how unforgiving high-risk equipment can be. Welding near energized or unstable systems demands strict protocols, proper isolation, and constant hazard checks. One spark in the wrong place is all it takes for a repair job to turn deadly. Workers are installing a concrete light pole when things suddenly go wrong. As the pole is lifted, it drifts into a medium voltage power line, and the electric surge hits everyone in contact with it. The driver is affected immediately, and the two workers beside him collapse from the electrical shock and require urgent medical attention. Incidents like this happen in seconds when overhead hazards aren't checked and proper clearance isn't maintained. Around live power lines, even the smallest miscalculation can turn a routine installation into a critical emergency. A truck is moving down the road with two workers riding on the back when they spot electrical wires blocking the vehicle's path. Trying to help the truck pass through, they reach up to lift the wires, a risky move from the start. One worker accidentally makes contact and the wire touches a live electrical line. The surge hits him instantly, delivering a severe, life-threatening shock. Moments like this show how dangerous overhead lines really are. Handling live wires requires proper insulation, protective gear, and specialized tools, not bare hands. Without strict electrical safety protocols, even a simple attempt to clear the way can turn into a critical emergency. At a factory, a worker stands too close to a machine that rotates large cover sheets into round rollers. As the machine runs, he edges into the danger zone, and in an instant, his clothing gets caught. The mechanism pulls him in and spins him along with the material, causing severe injuries before anyone can react. This is exactly why moving machinery demands distance, guarding, and constant awareness. Proper training, clear hazard zones, and emergency stop controls aren't optional. They're the only things that keep moments like this from turning into life-threatening emergencies. During a lifting maneuver in Chile, a crane is hoisting a heavy load when things start to go wrong fast. The weight shifts forward, the boom dips, and the entire crane begins tipping straight toward the ground. Workers scramble back as the machine crashes forward, slamming down with massive force. In seconds, a routine lift becomes a full-blown emergency. Crane operations leave zero room for misjudged loads, bad ground conditions, or rushed decisions, because one imbalance is all it takes for a multi-ton machine to fold, fall, and put every worker in its path at risk. A worker tries to install an outdoor AC unit all by himself, climbing a ladder that's set on top of unstable scaffolding, a setup that's asking for trouble. As he reaches up to mount the unit, the entire structure shifts, the ladder slides, and everything collapses in one violent crash. The worker hits the ground hard and immediately screams in pain, trapped under the fallen equipment. This is exactly why solo installations, unstable ladders, and unsecured scaffolding are a dangerous mix. One moment of imbalance can take down the whole setup and the worker with it. A small crane lifter is being used to hoist heavy equipment inside the factory, but the load is far beyond what the machine can safely handle. As the crane strains, the equipment slips free and drops straight down. A worker walking nearby is struck by the falling material and suffers a serious injury in seconds. This kind of incident happens when load limits aren't respected and people are allowed too close to active lifting zones. Proper training, clear barriers, and regular equipment checks aren't extras. They're essential to keeping workers out of harm's way. A FedEx driver hops out of his truck to open the gate, but forgets one crucial step, putting the vehicle in park. A second later, the truck starts rolling straight toward him, turning a tiny oversight into a kinchemly dangerous close call. He scrambles out of the way just in time, narrowly avoiding a life-threatening accident caused by his own delivery van. Moments like this prove that even the smallest lapse in routine can put you right in the danger zone. Double-checking basics isn't just good practice, it's what keeps situations like this from turning into something far worse. A worker tries to close the lid of a tanker carrying liquid gas, not realizing pressure is already building inside. Smoke is leaking out, the lid won't stay down, and he keeps struggling with it. Then, without warning, the pressure forces the lid open with explosive strength, slamming into him and causing a serious injury. Incidents like this happen when pressurized containers aren't handled with caution. Workers need proper training, protective gear, and clear procedures for dealing with leaks and pressure buildup. One overlooked warning sign can turn routine maintenance into a dangerous emergency. Two trucks loaded with liquid materials stop at a factory site, and a worker walks over to check the contents. What he doesn't notice are the high-tension electrical wires hanging directly overhead. As he opens the truck's cap, he accidentally makes contact with the live line, and the electrical surge hits him instantly. The shock is severe and life-threatening, leaving no chance for recovery. This is exactly why unloading zones must never be placed under power lines. Clear signage, proper training, safe clearance, and strict protocols are the only things that prevent high-voltage hazards from turning routine tasks into tragic emergencies. A worker is unloading materials from a truck, but he's doing it one-handed while talking on the phone, already a major distraction. He sets a cotton box on the ground, not realizing the material inside needs careful handling. The moment it lands, the contents explode, sending debris and force straight into him and causing a painful injury. This is what happens when hazardous materials meet careless handling. Phones, shortcuts, and one-handed lifting have no place in tasks that require full focus. Proper technique, attention, and awareness aren't just good habits, they're what prevent routine unloading from turning into an emergency. Safety hazards can show up in the places you'd least expect, even inside a barber shop. Something as simple as an overloaded socket, worn-out wiring, or the wrong electrical tool can spark a fire in seconds. These risks get ignored in the rush of daily work, but they're very real. That's why awareness and prevention matter just as much in small businesses as in heavy industries. Regular electrical checks, certified equipment, and basic fire safety training can stop emergencies before they start. No workplace is too small for safety, and a quick inspection today can prevent a disaster tomorrow. A crew is loading heavy marble tiles onto a truck with some workers inside lifting while others pass the tiles up from the ground. Everything seems routine until one tile slips out of someone's hands and drops straight into the truck. It crashes onto the workers inside, injuring one of them and pinning him under the weight. Incidents like this show how unforgiving heavy materials can be when handling isn't controlled. PPE, proper lifting techniques, secure grip, and mechanical aids aren't extras. They're what keep workers safe when the load is heavy and the margin for error is small. At a timber depot, a parked truck loaded with wood suddenly starts rolling on its own. The driver reacts instinctively and tries to stop it with his hands, but the weight is far too much to hold back. The truck keeps moving and presses him against a wall, leaving him with serious injuries before anyone can intervene. This is exactly why parked vehicles must always be secured with brakes, chocks, and proper procedures. A few seconds of movement from a heavy load can turn into a dangerous emergency when basic safety checks are skipped. A mechanic is working underneath the lifted rear section of a truck, relying solely on its hydraulic cylinder to hold the weight. But without warning, the cylinder fails, and the entire load drops straight down onto him. The injuries are catastrophic, with no chance for escape once the support gives out. Incidents like this show why hydraulics can never be the only safety measure. Proper lockout stands, training, and backup supports aren't negotiable. They're what keep a routine repair from turning into a life-threatening collapse. A gantry crane is lifting an iron girder when the chain suddenly snaps under the weight. The girder drops instantly and strikes a worker standing below, leaving him with extremely severe, life-threatening injuries. Other workers rush in to help, but the impact is overwhelming. This kind of incident shows exactly why lifting chains must be inspected, rated, and replaced long before they fail. No one should ever be under a suspended load, because when heavy steel comes down, there's no time to react and the consequences are devastating. A truck driver steps away from his vehicle and is standing off to the side, looking in another direction with no idea danger is approaching. Behind him, another truck begins reversing with limited visibility and no spotter in place. The driver never sees him, and in seconds the reversing truck runs directly into him, pinning him in a brutal crush incident. The injuries are extremely severe and instantly life-threatening. This is why proper backing protocols, clear sight lines, and trained spotters are non-negotiable. One unseen reversal can turn a quiet moment into a catastrophic emergency. In China, a worker is handling a cable winding machine but skips the critical safety precautions needed around rotating equipment. As he moves in too close, the cable suddenly pulls him in with overwhelming force, leaving him with injuries so severe that there was no chance of recovery. Incidents like this show how unforgiving high-torque machinery can be when guards, distance, and proper procedures aren't followed. Cable winders demand full focus, safe positioning, and strict training because one moment of contact with a moving reel can turn an ordinary task into a life-threatening emergency. In a small street stall in China, a popcorn machine is heating up when something suddenly goes wrong. The pressure inside builds way too fast, and before anyone realizes it, the entire machine explodes with a massive blast. The shockwave sends popcorn and metal parts flying, and the group of children standing nearby freezes in absolute disbelief. Luckily, most of the force hits the machine itself, but the moment is terrifying. It's a reminder that even simple snack machines need proper maintenance and pressure checks, because one malfunction can turn a fun moment into a dangerous scare. At an under-construction high-rise, a massive multi-story scaffold is loaded with workers and materials when the entire structure suddenly gives way. In a split second, metal frames collapse, planks snap, and everyone is sent flying through the air. The fall is chaotic, debris raining down as workers scramble to grab anything they can. Incidents like this show how critical proper anchoring, load limits, and routine scaffold inspections really are. When a structure that tall fails, there's no time to react, and the consequences are immediately life-threatening. A crane is lifting a dump truck into position when the entire operation takes a sudden turn. One of the lifting cables snaps under the load, and the truck drops sideways in an instant. As it slams to the ground, a worker standing too close gets trapped beneath the falling vehicle, leaving him with severe life-threatening injuries. This is exactly why heavy lifts demand flawless rigging, proper cable inspections, and strict exclusion zones. When even one cable fails, the entire load becomes a hazard, and anyone nearby is in immediate danger. Two workers are on top of a gas cargo train, carrying out routine tasks, when everything suddenly goes wrong. A spark or pressure release triggers a fire, and flames erupt across the top of the tanker. Burning gas begins pouring downward, racing along the sides of the train like a fiery waterfall. The workers instantly realize the danger, and sprint for their lives as the blaze chases them across the cars. Moments like this show how fast things can turn critical around flammable cargo. One slip, one leak, and a calm workday becomes a full-scale emergency. During a football match, the crowd is focused on the game when disaster strikes at one end of the stadium. A massive floodlight tower suddenly gives way, tipping forward in a full nosedive. The entire face of lights slams into the ground, and the impact triggers a burst of sparks and a loud blast as the fixtures explode on contact. Fans freeze in shock, players stop mid-play, and the whole stadium is left stunned by how fast it happened. It's a stark reminder that even the biggest structures need constant inspection, because one structural failure can turn a calm match into a dangerous spectacle. At a construction site, a crane is lifting a heavy pack of metal sheets while a group of workers stands at the far end, talking and unaware of the danger above them. Everything seems routine until the lifting cables suddenly give way. In an instant, the entire load drops straight down, crashing directly onto the workers below. The impact is severe and the scene turns chaotic as others rush in to help. Moments like this show why exclusion zones, proper rigging, and constant awareness are non-negotiable. One cable failure is all it takes for a normal workday to become a critical emergency. A concrete mixer truck is parked on the side of the road with the drum still running, and a worker is on the ground nearby doing his job. Everything looks stable until the truck suddenly begins to roll forward. The worker has no time to react as the massive vehicle moves straight into his space and crushes him against the ground. The injuries are extremely severe, turning a routine task into a life-threatening emergency in seconds. This is exactly why heavy vehicles must be secured with brakes and wheel chocks. One unexpected movement can put anyone nearby in immediate danger. A crew is working inside a dug-up sewer line, standing in a trench surrounded by loose sand. Everything seems steady, but underground work is never truly stable. Without warning, the walls of the excavation start shifting, and the loose sand suddenly gives way. In seconds, the entire trench collapses, burying the workers under a surge of soil before anyone can escape. It's a terrifying reminder that trenches without proper shoring or support can fail instantly. When the ground gives up, there's no time to react, and the consequences are immediately life-threatening. Every lift needs a plan, no exceptions. Every chain, every bolt, every angle has to be double-checked because one overlooked detail can cost everything. In this case, a massive metal load shifts mid-air, and the entire setup falters. The load swings down with force and misses a nearby worker by inches, nearly turning the close call into a life-threatening disaster. Heavy lifts don't forgive mistakes. When even one connection fails, the whole operation can come crashing down, and anyone standing close is instantly at risk. A worker is standing near an automated robotic arm, thinking it's just another routine day, but in a split second, the arm swings unexpectedly and presses him against the surface like he's doing a machine. The impact is brutal, and his workday turns into a nightmare instantly. The only thing that saves him from far worse injuries is the helmet he's wearing, the one piece of gear that took the hit instead of his head. Moments like this show why PPE isn't optional around automation. One malfunction, one wrong move, and that helmet becomes the only line between danger and survival. One missed step on that ladder was all it took for a normal task to go sideways. The worker loses his footing, slips hard, and hits the ground with force that leaves him with injuries he'll never forget. You can see another worker rushing over immediately, realizing how quickly things can go wrong when ladders aren't stable or someone's balance shifts for just a moment. Falls don't give warnings, and without proper footing, support, and focus, even a simple climb can turn into a painful emergency in seconds.